Good Gab, sponsored by Skillskin, a nonprofit organization empowering individuals with disabilities through employment. New studio, new fun, but not new people. I bet you know this person. That's Heather Hamlin today, a friend of mine and a friend of the community, executive director of Women Helping Women Fund. Heather, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me today, Steve.
Heather, what's going on?
Hello. It's so good to see you today.
Me too. We get to run into each other at all sorts of events around town, and it's always a pleasure to see you.
Same. I'm glad we're not in formal attire this time.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, you saw me in a suit last time. Jeez.
I know.
Yeah, and you were all dressed up. That was fun, though. That was a good event at Catholic Charities.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the
Support
gala.
them all.
How'd you get connected with them? Just kind of side note.
With Catholic Charities?
Yeah.
Well, you know, Women Helping Women Fund has funded a lot of their programs for years and years, and so many of these great programs. One of the first funders of Rising Strong.
You were?
Yes, and so we get to hear about these programs from the beginning and then come back and really support them at the galas and some of these different site tours and things like that. So when Susan and the team reached out at Catholic Charities to attend, I was like, absolutely, this sounds great. And it was such a good night.
I bet it was a good night. And that is so cool. And Rising Strong, I bet people don't even know about that program. And like Catholic Charities pioneered that here in Spokane, keeping families together. Mm-hmm. Like that was new. So much so that I just heard that the West Side just launched their Rising Strong.
That's so great.
And it's like, it was pioneered right here. And I had no idea. The Women Helping Women Fund helped put that together. Well, what else don't we know about Women Helping Women Fund?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm a little bit biased. I say this all the time, but I think we're building something pretty special in Spokane. We're not doing it alone, right? This is a group of everyday givers that are committing to changing our community, and it's going really, really well, and we're having a lot of fun along the way.
Well, tell us more about that. I see your events. It's like, that looks pretty fun, but what are the programs that you're trying to connect with?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've had this large event every spring for years and years, decades now, since 1993. And while that is great that you can gather 1,000, 2,000, 2,500 people together for an event and pool money, they wanted year-round involvement. And so that is what we have done. In 2020, at the end of the year, we launched a collective giving model. This is the first giving circle in Spokane County, and it's really the first of its kind here in Spokane. It's been really, really well received. So instead of an event once a year, everybody comes to, we donate, we pool our money, and then it goes to nonprofits. Now we're saying, all right, people of Spokane, you're looking for ways to get involved, and we know a lot of nonprofits. How about you commit $25, $50 a month? All of it goes back to the community through grants and scholarships, and then we'll provide opportunities for you to get engaged. And on top of that,
okay.
So these could be volunteering, these could be site visits, donation drives, involved with the organization, right? We do a lot in the community. And then we said, how about you also decide where the money goes? You are the donor, you are pooling your funds together, and with trust-based philanthropy, you get to decide which nonprofits will benefit. So this is
how does crazy. Someone influence that where the benefit goes?
Yeah, it's wild. So this is collective giving is not new across the country. It's just new in Spokane. And
I must be living under a rock because it's like, this is new to me. So tell us more.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really, really great, actually. There are 70 other collective giving organizations across the country, and most of them are women organizations, right? And we know as women that there's power in our pocketbook. We know that we want to be involved. We know that we don't want to always just donate and not know what happens afterwards. So this is a way that people can actually get involved. We also like to say that we're a no-guilt organization. So some folks want to be involved and they want to attend these events like Mom Prom, or they want to come to Women Helping Women Week event. But then there are others that really want to go above and beyond. So we provide that opportunity. In the late fall, all of the donors will vote. Giving Circle members is what we kind of refer to them as. And they vote on the focus funding areas that they want to support in the next fiscal year. So is it domestic violence? Is it childcare? Is it food insecurity? And we're not just taking a wild guess at what our community needs. These are data-backed decisions, right? We produce a lot of data and reports around the state of women and children. So when we provide the data, we show what their need is. They decide what focus funding areas they want to fund this year. And the nonprofits know that. They submit their grant applications knowing what the priorities are. And then these members will actually get to know the nonprofits and then decide which ones to fund in the spring. So to let you know, this is not a little bit of money. Last month, we cut about $363,000 in checks to Spokane County nonprofit and scholars. So this is a huge thing that just continues to grow and grow. For years, it was a hidden gem, but we're not hidden anymore.
No, you're not. How did it start?
Oh my gosh. It's a really cool story. And we talk about women, right? And how powerful and how innovative we can be. This started in 1992 with 6 badass women, like the women where nobody would say no to them. And they got together and they realized how much power they had in their pocketbook and how much influence they had just in their small friend group, right? There's a little bit of disposable income. I bet everybody can have a little bit together if we dig hard. What if we pool it and then decide together, right? So these 6 women went out to lunch, and they were so passionate that at the end of their lunch, they went to Winston Cachet, where one of the co-founders' husbands was one of the principals at Winston Cachet, and they actually founded that nonprofit that day.
Wow, they're lunch. Like, this is happening.
Not only are we so passionate about it, we're going to sit in my husband's office until he makes us a formal nonprofit. And so that's how it got started. And the next year, they brought people together for a first event, knowing that $100 ticket would be a huge stretch for people in 1992. It is right now.
Totally.
And that first year, they had over 700 people gather. And that has been happening every year since. So you can see how the event has legs of its own. And then you can see how there's this need for year-round engagement.
Absolutely.
So this new collective giving model is really just a match made in heaven for everybody.
So, but it took 30 years to start to evolve. You're like, no, we can do more.
I think so. And we knew that, and we are doing more. But really kind of what lit that fire is we were looking around and thinking, gosh, if anything were to ever happen, you know, most of our revenue is from this large, beloved event. But what happens if we couldn't have this event? And so we started making plans for something different. And then in 2020, we figured out what happens when you can't have the event. You pivot. And it was really, really good timing because we had already done a lot of the work. So when we launched the collective giving model, it's going really, really well. Women are loving it. We have a lot of men that are definitely supporting too, and from all walks of life. We talk a lot about everyday givers changing the world, but it's true.
Yeah, 'cause it can happen $5 at a time, right?
It really does.
50, 500, but it's that intent.
It is.
And someone who gets to be a participant in where those resources go, that's really cool.
It is. Imagine democratizing philanthropy where your donors do get some say in that, right? We're not direct service for the most part.
But it's not final either. It's like, oh, my giving is tied to exactly what I want. It's more collective than that.
It is. It's the community deciding where the issues are, looking at the data and indicators, and then really investigating who's going to be the best stewards of those dollars. It's been so fun to watch it grow.
How did you get involved?
Oh my gosh. So I have been with Women Helping Women Fund for almost 6 years now. And I have kind of a different path in Spokane. I grew up in Elk and the big bustling metropolis of Elk, Washington, and made it all the way to Spokane. So, you know, a whole 30 miles. And I have worked for KXOI. I've worked for a National Credit Association here in Spokane. And then I went to work for GSI, Greater Spokane Incorporated. And
that's when I first saw you as a GSI.
Yeah. And that really opened my eyes. Up until that point, I thought to get involved in your community, you had to have a big title or you had to have a big pocketbook or something like that. You had to be invited to the table. And when I was at GSI, I looked around and I realized, oh, there are no special people. Like, we're the secret sauce. It's anybody who wants to raise their hand and get involved is the one that makes a difference. And so from there,
true that.
From there, it was just opening my eyes really to how the community functions, where the gaps are, how you can plug in. It's been really, really great. So 6 years ago, almost, I moved to Women Helping Women Fund, and I haven't even looked back. It's been just a great 6 years.
Okay, so over those 6 years, I'm sure there's a lot of memorable things like Rising Strong that helped stand up. Anything else that you'd share with our audience?
Oh my gosh. We have the best jobs in the world. I'm not going to lie. So I can tell you.
Let us experience this with you.
Some fun things.
Yeah.
Okay, so in July, 4th of July, everybody likes to celebrate. They take a couple of days off. Every 4th of July, I order coats. I order coats from Amazon like they're going out of style because for some reason it's the cheapest coat week of the year.
Okay.
So we buy all these coats, we order them, we're paying, just pennies on the dollar for what you would normally fill up our garage with it. The mail lady hates me. But that's just one thing that we do every year, right? We do coats, we get them, we secure them all year long. We give them to Coats for Kids with Chris Crocker and her team every year. So we do things like that. Sometimes they're physical and we're getting pool noodles and bubbles and sidewalk chalk for Spokane Angels. Other times we are funding an important project like Rising Strong or Family Promise and their infant shelter. We came in with $44,000 a few years ago with a lot of other funders, and we said our community needs this. And that is some of the work that we get to do that's so impactful. Some of it's small, micro grants, $500, $1,000 to a nonprofit can really make or break a program or maybe a project that they're doing. And other times like Family Promise, it's that large investment that's needed. So we see all of it across the board. Feast Spokane was another that was a brand new nonprofit. And, we saw the potential there and the need in the market. And it has just flourished since that very first grant now.
I bet. Well, one of our old board members, Crystal Ortega, is now heading up that organization. And yeah, just love the work that they're doing. So you that Women Helping Women Fund helped start that.
We did. So really, and it's not that we.
So yeah, this is you've been behind the scenes for many 30 some years now to just fund a lot of the good that's happening in our community.
A lot of it. And as grant makers, it's really unique. There are large grants makers and large foundations where they pull off of their endowment and their distribution and, they're not raising money. This is a grassroots organization that for 32 years raises the money year round, turns around, gives it all out to the community. And one of the big questions we have is then how are you a nonprofit? How are you funded? And that's through corporate partners. So not only do we get to work with nonprofits, individual donors, we are funded our overhead by corporate partners so that individual donations go back out into the community. So it's a really unique model set up a lot like Charity Water is. Yeah. And so it's been really neat to watch people understand this is sustainable. Oh, I can get involved. Oh, it's all going to a good place. Oh, there's not a lot of overhead. Could it be any better?
Yeah. It's kind of the dream of what people want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. It has been.
What's the reach?
So our reach right now, we are just Spokane County. We always have been. Our donors are Spokane County. Our nonprofits that we grant to are Spokane County 501c3s. And our scholars that we support are also Spokane County residents. So these are women that are juggling the cost of tuition and childcare at the same time. They're putting themselves back through school, and they need a little bit of help. So that is one other program of Women Helping Women Fund is really coming alongside and supporting them. So it's kind of a birth to adults really could benefit and be engaged with Women Helping Women Fund.
So how are nonprofits? There's a lot of nonprofit leaders that, are listening to this podcast, and I'm sure they know about you because it's a big funder. But how do people engage?
Oh, gosh. You can get involved at whatever level you'd like. Like I said, no guilt. Everybody wants to hear that. A no guilt organization. Sign me up twice. I'll do that. And you can get involved at, the volunteering. You can get involved through just a monthly donation, an annual donation. And then really, we love for people that want to get involved a little bit more and go on those site tours and maybe look at those grant applications, understand how these nonprofits all play together in your community, and then how you can come and support them.
I'm loving it. How about the flip side, though, like the nonprofits themselves? How do they, give applications for funding?
Yeah, there's a process. And so they submit a letter of intent in the fall, and they will say what their program is, what they need the funds for, how many people will be impacted by it, and a rough dollar amount of what they would be requesting. And then we really look. There's a big group of volunteer, hundreds of them actually, that get together and will decide which ones will be invited to submit a full grant application. So out of those probably 60 applications that we receive for the LOI, we'll bring about 25 in for a full grant application. And that's when we really start to have some fun. We want to learn about the nonprofits. We do their site tours. We look at all their financials, their 990s. We want to look at their job descriptions, not poking holes in programs. It's literally to see how we can support them outside of just money, right? Like getting a grant is fantastic.
It's like a big hug.
It
of
is.
support.
It really is like a big hug. So we do that with our nonprofits. We want to give them the funds and then step out of their way so that they can do the good work. We don't want crazy grant reports. We don't want any sort of receipts. Like, really, we've already done our due diligence, and we know that these nonprofits rock. So now we stand out of their way and just support them in every other way.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So you obviously are a very talented individual, a lot of passion helping community. It's like, why are you spending your time in Spokane? Like, what kept you here?
I love Spokane.
Me too.
Like I said, I grew up in Elk, right? And I have a very high ACEs. My childhood was dramatically different than my daughter's is, right? And kind of changing the cycles, I think, of poverty, of parenting, of just all of that. And so when I realized, oh, I could work for a nonprofit or I can keep on this nonprofit path, I thought, this is my way to pay it forward. This is my way to help the nonprofits that saved my life as a child, right? These are the same nonprofits that funded my family through really tough times. And now I get to turn back and I get to help them and engage everyday givers in ways that they can help change their own community. I can't think of a better role, and I can't think of a better way to pay it forward.
And with lived experience, you can communicate what that really means.
Yeah, it absolutely is. There's so much poverty in Spokane County still. And when we get into the data, we see so much of that is tied to mother's education level, right? So those scholars, it seems like it's really nice and warm and fuzzy that they receive a $5,000 scholarship and maybe some gifts around Christmas. And, you know, we really like to love up on them year round. But it's bigger than that, because we know it's not just the tuition for them. It's changing that cycle for their kids, right? So much
and that's what can break a cycle.
Yeah, it's so much of it is tied to education for moms that this is just kind of a natural fit in what we can do.
Well, all this, love and support you're putting into Spokane, I can just see it's putting it back on you too.
I hope so. I hope so.
And I heard you were telling me like season 4 of Whitworth Institute of Leadership.
Yeah.
It's coming your way.
Congratulations. Super Thank you. Yeah. Such a great cohort, and I'm excited to work with a team at Leadership. And I think we have 21 in our cohort. So these are some movers and shakers that have some big ideas for our little community.
Sounds like someone that's sitting across from me right now.
You know, I think that you actually went through this program as well.
Guilty.
So yeah. I hear it's going to be a great year, and I'm excited anytime we can work with our higher ed. Just incredible knowledge there.
Yeah, and just start to, connect with maybe some folks that you don't even know either.
Yeah.
And be able to share, your story, your impact. How amazing. Well, any events that are things that we need to make sure that our listeners know right now?
Oh, sure. So I want to tell you a little bit about Mom Prom. This is an amazing event that is under the Women Helping Women Fund umbrella for the second year in 2025. So on International Women's Day, March 8th, it's a Saturday, we will be gathering with 600 of our closest friends at the Montvale Event Center.
600 sounds a lot of fun.
600 for Mom Prom. So the whole slogan of the party is partying at 7, in bed by 11. No program, DJ, 2 floors of dancing.
What?
I know, it's so great. And it's just a way for women to get together and to really enjoy each other's company. So that is one of the events that people really look forward to each year. And then we'll be back again at the Convention Center in May for the Give Like a Woman event. So those are our 2 larger events of the year that we would love people to get involved with, and collective giving's year round. So don't be strangers.
You heard it here. Heather, thank you so much for joining us today. Anything else come into your mind? Any parting thoughts for our listeners?
Just Spokane. There's something special about our community, and sometimes we forget that, But we have to remind each other, there is something really, really special that keeps us here and keeps us bonded together. And it's not just my 75 first cousins. Like there is something really, really special. So let's
Is that a legit number for you?
There's a lot of cousins.
I'm at 26.
It's just knowing that we can build something special, but we have to put forth some effort. Whether it's supporting Women Helping Women Funds, Skillskin, or any of the hundreds of other nonprofits in our area, those are the boots on the ground. We need people to get involved.
And we can do it one person at a time, one life at a time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Heather, thanks for joining us today.
Have a great day.
You too.